Hey, welcome back. It's K-Ray. Before we get started, I would really appreciate it if you subscribe to my YouTube channel first and foremost, and then once you watch my video, please like, comment, let me know if this is something that you like, what I can do to improve, all the good things. This video is going to be questions about how I became a nurse, the road that I took, what motivated me, what helped me stay on track, all those good things. I've asked on my Instagram multiple times. I have the Q&A option open on TikTok. So if there's questions that you have asked, I've got them multiple times. So I figured instead of answering one individually, because there's so many, that I would just do a YouTube channel and cover all of it together. So this is it. I want to start off by saying thank y'all so much for all the support, TikTok, Instagram, all those good things. I am so excited for what's to come. I am so new at this, never thought that I would be doing a YouTube channel or anything like that, but hey, God's in control, so I'm just kind of letting him do his thing. I've gotten so much feedback on my motivational videos on TikTok, people at work. It's really cool. It's really heartwarming, to say the least. So I just wanted to thank y'all first, but let's jump into the questions. I'll kind of jump around because I'm going through Instagram and TikTok to answer these questions, so bear with me. Somebody said, definitely makeup routine, blogs, and get to know me Q&A. So I will definitely be doing some of those too, but I wanted to cover all the nursing stuff first since I had so many questions about that. Someone said, have you ever had someone say you'd never make it? How did you respond and push through? Yes, you will always have negative people, no matter what you do. If you're doing good, if you're doing bad, you're going to have negative people. So I think that's a thing that you have to just kind of tell yourself in your head, you know what? Not everybody's going to support me. Everybody's going to have their own opinions. And a lot of times people have negative comments to say to you, but it's not necessarily you're the issue. They're usually fighting something inside. They're fighting a battle inside themselves, and the only thing that they know how to do is portray that anger and that frustration and that hurtful or whatever it is inside on someone else. So usually if someone's throwing a rock at you, I guess I would say 8 times out of 10, it's not necessarily you, it's what's inside of them. They're broken inside, they're hurt inside, and that's the only way that they know how to cope. So I've learned through the relationships I've had, the friendships I've had, when someone throws a rock, just take it and you build that foundation. You stand on that foundation. That's what I've done, and that's what I continue to do. I've had so many people that be ugly to me. They're still ugly to me, and it's up to me to be able to decipher on what I'm going to get hung up on and what I'm just going to kind of let blow by. So yes, I've had multiple people tell me that I wasn't going to be a nurse, and it is hurtful. I'm not going to say it's not hurtful, because when you're in the midst of nursing school, I cried so many times because I wasn't sure if I was going to make it. There's been so many times that I can look back on, and I was like, I legit don't think that I'm smart enough to do this. Like, nursing school was by far the hardest thing I've ever done in my life. Like, it was the hardest thing I've ever done. So whenever you're in the midst of it and you're already feeling down and you're discouraged, and then somebody throws that on top of it, doesn't make it better, it doesn't make it easier. You kind of start to believe those comments and that negativity that people are throwing your way. So definitely know who to hang around with, know what to believe and what to, I guess, get hung up on, to say the least. People will always throw rocks. Always. You can do good. I'm doing good for myself, and people are still saying ugly things. When I was in nursing school, I was not doing hot at all, and people still had ugly things to say. So it doesn't really matter. Just kind of do what makes you happy at the end of the day, because nobody really cares about your happiness. They're more so worried about them. So you take that as your priority and make sure you're happy. So yeah, for sure. Push through. You don't have a choice. I told myself when I was in nursing school that I was going to bust my butt because I wanted my husband and my kids later on to have a good life. I had a good life growing up, but it was never like, we never like wanted something and couldn't get it. And I never want my kids to go through that. Like, I see some kids, I work at a hospital and we have CPS involved a lot of times. And I don't want my kids to have to go through that, not even financially, but just emotionally. And so I think me being a nurse and going through something like nursing school, it definitely makes you a better person. I'm not saying that I'm the best person on this planet, by no means am I saying that, but you have so much structure and you have so much responsibility. I know if I didn't go through nursing school, I wouldn't be half the person that I am today. So nursing school really shaped me into being who I am. Even as far as being on time, like I am early to work every single shift. Like I've never been late. Just because in nursing school, if you were late, they would send you home and you'd fail that class. Like there was no wiggle room. You had to be on time. You had to have your stuff together, and that just kind of, led me into the person that I am today. Now, I'm not always late to like parties and gatherings and stuff like that, dates and stuff. But as far as work, that's one thing I will never try to be late for. I know life happens sometimes, but that's something that I, hold close to my heart. I want to be professional. And that's something that I tell myself, even with all the social media stuff that I'm doing right now. My work comes first, because at the end of the day, I have somebody's life in my hands. So when I go to work, I, put social media on that back burner. And when I have time or something, I'll do the little cat videos. I do that on my break a lot of times, on my lunch break, because I don't want my patients to ever feel, or anybody to ever feel like that's coming first, because it's not. I will never put somebody's life behind social media. Never, never, never. Please share your best advice getting into L&D. I worked in the PICU at Texas Children, and I absolutely loved it. But when I was in nursing school, I fell in love with women's services, and I knew I was going to be an L&D nurse, and that's just something that I knew. Well, right before graduation, a lot of my friends had like accepted jobs at, good hospitals, and they were on the med-surg floor and the cardiac floor, and that was never something that I wanted to do. I worked as a nursing assistant and on a med-surg floor at a really good hospital, and I hated it. I mean, props to all you med-surg nurses. Y'all are angels for sure. I could never do what y'all do. But that's just something that I didn't want to do. I did not want to do med-surg, and I knew that coming out as a new grad. But also, I knew I wanted a job right out of school. So I was like, you know what? If I have to accept a med-surg job just to get into it, I will totally do it. Just because I didn't want to wait around for a job. Like I knew I wanted to work right outside of school. So I was okay with a med-surg job. But I was really bummed because a lot of my friends, they had jobs right out of nursing school, or right before graduation. Everybody had jobs, and I was like, I don't have a job yet. And so it was kind of hurtful then, but I didn't really understand it. Like I had multiple interviews, and I was just like, I don't understand like what's going on. Like my grades are excellent. I graduated with honors, but I think God had a plan, and had I had a job offer in a med-surg floor before I graduated, I for sure would have taken it. So he didn't offer that job to me because he knew what was ahead. Thank God I did not get an offer at any of those med-surg jobs or interviews that I went to, because right after graduation, I had 2 interviews. One was for an L&D position, and one was for a mother-baby position. And I knew right out of school that I was bound to be a L&D nurse. And I got the L&D position, and then I also got the mother-baby position too. But the mother-baby position and the hospital that I was going to be at was just something that I wanted to be a part of as a new grad. This hospital, they hardly hire, because once you're in, you're in. It's more of like a family than it is, like work. So people don't quit, people retire there, and it just felt so welcoming, and that was what really determined what position I was going to take. Thankfully, my manager is so good, and she wants us to, continue to learn and grow our education. And I know I won't be at this job forever, but it was definitely an awesome, awesome job for me to start out at. I do work for HCA. I will not mention what hospital I work for, just for my privacy and my patient's privacy. I know I've gotten that question a ton, but I do work for an HCA hospital in the Houston area, but I will not tell you which one, so please don't ask that. If you know me from work or family or friends, if somebody ever asks on social media, please do not comment where please do not comment where I work. I want that to stay private, because I don't want my privacy or my patient's privacy ever at jeopardy. But I do work for an HCA hospital and I love it. I am in a residency program, which I'll graduate from next month, and I'm in a 2-year contract. So I've been there almost a year and a half now. So I have like a half year left. But I love it. I absolutely love it. Like, I worked nights for 8 months, and that was really hard to start out at nights because I've never had that normalcy of, I guess when I first started, I was on days, and so I was like, okay, this is gonna be so good. And then I went to nights, and that was hard. Like, you night shift nurses y'all are so good. I could not do it again. Just because your whole circadian rhythm is completely off. Like, you sleep during the day and you're up all night. I don't miss it at all. I miss the people that I worked with for sure, but as far as the lifestyle, yeah, no thank you. So I worked there. I worked on nights for 8 months, and then this past January I moved to days, and I love it, love it, love it. Like, when I go to work, I don't even feel like I'm at work. So I know that it was God's, timing, and thankfully I got the job right out of school. So I graduated in November. I took NCLEX in January, and I got hired the end of January. So right after I took NCLEX, I got the job offer. So no, actually, I'm lying. I graduated in November and got the job a couple weeks after I graduated, because it was, I think the week after I graduated, I had both of those job interviews, and I was so excited. I was like, oh, thank goodness that I didn't accept a med surg. So yeah, going through Christmas and all that, I was super relieved because I knew I had a job and I was going to be starting February, but I had to pass NCLEX the first time or I was going to throw all of my residency stuff off. So yes, sorry. I totally said that wrong. So my recommendation to you, or my advice to you, would be, so many nurses told me to, oh, you should start off in med surg, or oh, you need to get the foundational nursing skills down before you go into a specialty. If that is what you want, then by all means do it, but that is not what I wanted. And I was so happy once I started that I didn't go into a med surg floor. I didn't want to be miserable. Some of my friends took that med surg position, and they texted me a couple months in and they're like, where do you work? Because I'm miserable. Like, and that I wasn't, and I'm thankful that I didn't take that job, because I don't want to go to work and hate my job or dread going to work. No. So if you want to do women's services, don't settle for a med surg job if you can, or if you have the time to. Yes, if you're 6 months without a job or 3 months without a job and you need the income, then for sure, get your foot in the door, and you'll eventually be able to get that women's services position. But I was a little bit different. Just the timing, I prayed really, really hard, and I just knew that was something that I wanted to do. So I prayed, the good Lord blessed me, and right out of nursing school, I got that job. So the good Lord was definitely on my side. Don't do something that you don't want to do. If you know you don't want to do something, don't do it just because other people are pressuring you. If I would have did that, I would have been miserable. Thankfully, I didn't, because I'm on cloud 9 when I go to work. What's it that makes it hard? So I went to Chamberlain, and Chamberlain is a fast track accelerated nursing program, and our classes went by, it wasn't more so a semester, but it was like 8-week increments. So each class was 8 weeks, and that was really, really hard. At first I was like, oh my goodness, I don't know how this is going to happen, because we had pharm and med surg, and those, instead of having 16 weeks, we only had 8. So we had to cram everything into those 8 weeks. That last week was finals. That first week was just getting to know people, or getting to know your professors. And then you really have 6 weeks to learn the material, and we did ATI. So we still had to pass that ATI exam to be able to move on to the next class. And our passing score for Chamberlain was a 76. So in order to pass the class, you had to make a 76, which was really hard just because nursing school itself is hard. You can make a 60 or a 50 on an exam and your average is down. So you really, really had to study and be prepared for your exams and know where to make up on your grade if you did poorly on an exam. I've done poorly on exams before, but I had to pull myself out of that hole because you have to make a 76 average. Thankfully, I've always been super, super big about my grades from being at Lone Star, which I'll go over, being at Lone Star and then going into a bachelor's program. I never wanted a C. I know C's get degrees, I get it, but for myself, I set that standard and set that bar really high. And still with my bachelor's, I've never gotten a C because I worked really, really hard for it. I had a really good GPA graduating from Lone Star and then graduating from Chamberlain. I also had an awesome GPA and I graduated with honors, so I can't complain about that. So nursing school itself is really hard just because you are dealing with somebody's life. It's not just like, oh, you got to pass a math course and that's that. We did something called Med-Cal, and it was the first day of each class. You had to do a medication calculation test, and usually it was like 20 questions and you could only get 2 wrong, or you failed the Med-Cal test, and you could only take it, I want to say 2 times. And then that 3rd time, if you failed it, you failed the class. You can't even take the class. So that was really, really nerve-wracking. So from day 1 until you pass that final ATI exam, the pressure's on. So I knew, I mean, you can cheat. We used Quizlet. We used, I can't even think of them now. We used a bunch of different resources and that helped. Definitely, they definitely helped. But if you cheat your way through nursing school, when you get to your predictor or your final exam or your exit exam or even the NCLEX, you can't cheat your way through that because that's a state board exam and you're dealing with somebody's life. So that's what I always told myself was, if I have to cheat my way to pass nursing school and to pass my big exams, then I should not be a nurse. Granted, we had multiple, small quizzes and stuff that we would like look at Quizlet and stuff for homework and stuff. But as far as like cheating, you can't, there's no way you can cheat because you are proctored on exams and stuff, and you don't want to cheat your way through something and then get into the real world and you're dealing with somebody's life and how are you going to cheat through that? Like, I will never would I want to put somebody's life in my hands and me just, kind of, I guess, what's the word? I guess wiggle my way through or barely make ends meet to make somebody, survive. I can't. I have a really big conscience and I have to do everything the right way because I can't sleep at night. Even going to work, I leave work late all the time because I want to make sure I did everything I could for my patients, because if something happened, God forbid, that's on my chest and I can't sleep. There's times I've woken up from my sleep and I'm like, oh goodness, I forgot to put that lab in, and I'm calling work at like 4:30 and I'm like, hey, I forgot to do this. Can you please make sure my patient gets this done? Because I want to make sure my patients are, well taken care of. And we all make mistakes and we all have those times where we forget small things, but I definitely try to go that extra mile. I know being a new nurse is really hard, but I want to continue to be that because I want somebody to do that for me, or for my family. But a little bit about my nursing journey, or how I got to where I got. I graduated from high school and I knew that I was going to go to Texas A&M, and that was the plan. That's what I wanted to do. But God had other plans. I ended up going to Lone Star and getting all of my basics there. So I saved a ton of money. I worked while I was at Lone Star. I was able to live at home, go to Lone Star and work. So I was able to save money there. And Lone Star is so much cheaper than going to a, big university. Granted, that's something that I wish I would have done just because I didn't get to experience that 4-year university. But in the long run, I'm thankful I went the route that I went. So I went to Lone Star. I got all my prereqs done there. I ended up graduating with my applied science degree from Lone Star. It's an associate's degree. And then from there, I was trying to look into different nursing schools. I looked at some in West Texas. I ended up applying. I took the HESI. There's a HESI book on Amazon that I bought, and I had like 7 days to study because I didn't know that this cutoff date at Chamberlain was so soon. I heard about Chamberlain, but all I ever heard was how expensive it was, and I didn't hear very good things about it, so I didn't know what to expect. But my boyfriend at the time, his dad was into education for nursing programs and stuff like that. And I had asked him, I was like, hey, what do you think about Chamberlain? And he was like, oh, I know the recruiter for that school. Like, I think it's great. It's expensive, but I think it's good. It's a good thing to look into. So from that point, I was like, maybe I should do that, because I actually got accepted into a nursing school in West Texas, and I was actually going to stay in West Texas and finish my nursing degree there, because I looked into UTMB here, UT Health, but the wait list was so long, and I didn't want to wait. You know, they only accept so many people, and then after that, you have to wait a whole semester. So I didn't want to wait a year, you know, just waiting on a wait list or waiting until I got accepted. I didn't want to wait for that. So he ended up calling the recruiter. The recruiter told me exactly what I needed. So I sent all of my information over, and he said, you have this many days to study. You need to take the HESI by. So I bought the book off Amazon, got Amazon Prime, studied for that like literally 18 hours because it was crunch time. I took the exam and I made a decent enough score to submit it over to Chamberlain, and then Chamberlain accepted me within a couple weeks. I applied in July, took the HESI at the beginning of July. I got accepted in August, and then we were supposed to start school at the end of August. I lived in Pearland at this time, but then I think it was Hurricane Harvey came through, and so that kind of knocked everything off. So we didn't start nursing school until it was my birthday. I think it was my 20th birthday that we started, or maybe my 21st. I don't know. We started. My first day of class was on my birthday, September 12th, and so I was so thankful that I started there, and I got accepted into Chamberlain. I started in September, and then that was 2 years. So it took me 3 years to get all my basics because I worked, and I went through the summer, and I wanted good grades and stuff. So I ended up, altogether it took me 5 years to get my bachelor's degree, but I was able to save a ton of money. My parents helped me out a ton. So if you have financial support, I didn't have to work during nursing school. My boyfriend at the time and my parents did an awesome job of helping me. So I was super thankful for that. But if you don't have that support, so many people in nursing school still made it through, and it's doable. It is. Like, it will kick your butt, and you will think day in and day out, I don't know if I can do it. I don't know if I can do it. But looking back, I'm so thankful that I did it, because I'm a better person from it, and I'm an actual nurse now. Thankfully, I did not believe myself or believe the bad thoughts or anything like that, because I wouldn't be here. I'm scared to, joking because of how social media says it's hard. Is it really that hard? Yes, nursing school is very, very hard. But if you set your time aside and you study like you're supposed to, and you put the work in and you put the time in, yeah, if you just kind of BS it and you don't do what you're supposed to, yeah, you're going to fail and you're going to waste money. But I wasn't about to waste money, and I wasn't about to waste time. I didn't have time. I knew growing up I was going to be 25 and I was going to be married. Like, that was my thing. I'm not either of those things, but I know there's a plan for it all. But that was like my time. I was like, no, I have to have my degree. Like, I want this because I want to be married and starting a family at 25. I'm 25 now, and I have a degree. So I actually got the degree I wanted in the time that I wanted. But if that's something that you really, really want, then put the work into it. I've gotten so many times, am I too old to go to nursing school? Is it too late for me to go to nursing school? No, and no. No, it's not. My best friend, she's 29 and she's a nurse. And she went through nursing school with me. And I'm 25, she's 29, so she's 4 years older than I am. And we went through nursing school together. I guess she started when she was like 26. So no, it's not too late. There was people in my nursing program that were in their 50s with a family, with a job, multiple kids. Like, no, it's not too late. Yeah, it's too late if you are lazy and you don't want to put the time and the effort into it. Yeah, don't do it, because it's a waste of money. But if you are mentally preparing yourself and you know this is what you want to do and you are willing to put the work in for it, I highly suggest you doing it. Do it as soon as you can. Don't wait any longer. Time is money, is what I tell myself. Let's see. How did you study in nursing school? So I'm not the type of person to sit down and read a textbook front to back. There's not one time that I read the entire textbook because that's just not how I learned. So we had lecture and lecture I would write down everything our professor said. I think, and I still think to this day when I go back for my second degree, if the professor says it, it has to be important. Like they're not going to read every single thing out of that textbook, but if they're saying it, it's for a reason. So I would try to write down as much as I could. They will also tell you like, hey, you should write this down, or hey, you should know this, that you need to mark it into a different color, key it, whatever you need to do, tab it, bold it, whatever it is. But I would always pull the PowerPoints up on my laptop, and then I would physically write all my notes out, and I would use different colors because that's how I learned best. So I had every color highlighter and every color pen. And if we talked about medications, each medication would go into a different color because I need to be able, or the category, like my hypertensive medications, my diabetic medications, my cardiac medications, all of those medications were in different colors because when I was in the exam, I'd always think like, oh, the heart medications were in red, and I remember this medication being at the top, or I remember this medication. So that's how I learned best. I would also make flashcards, and on my way to school or on my way to class or wherever I was, I would read those flashcards because I would write, whether it was a Quizlet question and the answer on the back, I would want to know, like there's so many different ways you can study. I would read small parts of the textbook, look at pictures, and I would write, bolded stuff down because that stuff was important. And I did fairly well in nursing school. Granted, there was exams that I did terrible on, but for the most part, I could go back and I know I could do it all over again. Would I want to? Never, ever, ever would I ever want to go back to nursing school. But I know with my strategies that I did and how I studied, I would be successful. And that gives me hope for my next degree that I'm going to go for. So, yes. And did you have pre-shift anxiety? So I'm a fairly bubbly person, and I've worked in healthcare before, so I've had patient interaction and patient contact. So I wouldn't necessarily say that I had pre-shift anxiety, but I was always nervous that my professor was going to come around and ask me something and I wasn't going to know it. But I now, God is so good, I now have nursing students at work that I help and I precept, and they get to follow me. And there was one that I told a couple weeks ago that I said, look, listen, she was super nervous. She had to do a postpartum assessment on a mom. And she was like really, really nervous. And she was like, you just do such a good job at, doing your head to toe assessment. We're more so a focused assessment, but I still want to make sure from head to toe that they're okay. Because if they go home and something's wrong, that was my fault that I didn't check it. So I just kind of told her, like, I literally asked them from head to toe. So I don't miss anything. And so I told her, I said, that's basically, I showed her a couple times. I was like, you can watch me. And then if you have any questions, I can help you. And I told her, I said, you have to be confident, whether you know the information or you don't. You can know it and be shy and they're going to know it. Or you can not know it and you can be confident and you're going to psych them out and make them think that you know it. So there was, I guess, a couple months ago, I was terrified to like hang blood because I had never done it before. And so going into work, I was always like, oh God, today's going to be the day that I have to hang blood because I've never done it. And that was just a new skill. And it's very, very tedious on making sure you do the right thing. Giving blood is a big skill. And the first time that I gave blood, I actually had to give it 2 days in a row. I was like, okay, God, like I clearly know that you're trying to get me ready for my next step and help my confidence. But whenever I hung that blood, my patient had no idea that this was my first time hanging blood. I was like very confident and I was like, hey, this is what we're doing. And it wasn't so she actually knew what we were doing. It was because I was walking myself through and I was making sure that I had followed each step. I was priming my lines correctly. I was making sure I was crossing my T's and dotting my I's, not because I'm so worried about what she's thinking, but I'm like talking it out So that way I know what I'm doing too. And it helps her, and she's less anxious or she's less worried because she now knows why I'm hanging this fluid and why I'm getting this tubing and why I have to scan this many times and why I have to stay in the room with her for this long. Like, she's able to feel confident in who I am as a nurse, because if my nurse isn't confident, then I don't want her taking care of me, or I don't want her taking care of my family. But so that's what I told my nursing student. I said, go in there and be confident. Like, just think about what you're doing and be confident. And you have to say it in a confident way, you know? So whatever it is you're asking, you can't just say, hey, is it okay if I do this? Like, when I tell my moms why I'm checking them, or they need to feed their baby or something, I'm not like, hey, can you please feed your baby? Or hey, I'm like, hey mom, it's past time for feeding. Like, baby has to be fed right now. Or I'll tell her, do you know why I'm checking your uterus? Or do you know why I'm checking your fundus? And she's like, no. And I'm like, because if this is Baki, you could be bleeding, and I'm not going to let you bleed on my shift. Like, you can bleed on somebody else's shift, but I'm going to make sure if I see blood coming out, I'm going to handle that, because that's on me. So I'm pretty stern in how I'm not like bossy, or I'm not like, oh my goodness, you need to do this. Nothing that is like would make them feel like intimidated by me or anything. But I'm very confident in what I do, whether I know what I'm doing or not. Even starting an IV or placing a Foley, those things are, we don't start IVs every day, or we don't start Foleys every day. So whenever I do it, I have to, like, you know, prepare myself and make sure I like go in with confidence, because they feel that. Like, patients feel that, people know that. So you have to just go in and be confident. If you make a mistake, just say, hey, sorry, I didn't know that. Or if they ask a question and you don't know, just say, oh, I don't know. You know, I tell them, you know what, I don't know the answer, but let me find out. Let me ask my charge nurse, and I'll come back and let you know. You're not going to know everything. You won't. I learn something new all the time, every single day, every shift. The minute that you know it all is the minute that you're going to kill a patient. So no, you'll never know it all, but be confident. So I told her to be confident, do her thing. And she ended up going in and assessing her patient in front of her professor. And her professor was like, oh my God, you did such a good job. And she told me, she was like, I was just remembering, like, what did Kristen do? What did Kristen say? And so it really paid off for her. Like, she was super excited. And my manager and one of the other nurses that she actually charges sometimes, they're like, I want her name, because that girl there, she's the people that we're looking for to hire once they are, you know, ready to be nurses. So that was really, really cool that I was able to help her gain confidence. And that that's what she told me. She was like, I went in there and I told my mom, like, hey, did you do this? Or hey, this is why I'm going to do this. Like, it wasn't like, hey, is it okay? Or I was like, if you ask them, hey, is it okay? 9 times out of 10, they're going to be like, no. Or I'll tell them, like, hey mom, like, if you don't feed the baby, I'm going to have to check a blood sugar on the baby. So if you don't want to feed him, it's okay, but I'm going to have to eventually poke your baby. And usually they're right on it. So confidence is a big, big, big thing. Be confident, and your patients will feel confidence in you, and it'll be a breeze. Trust me. Did you start off in another area, or did you go straight to postpartum? I went straight into women's services right out of nursing school. How long to wait to take NCLEX after graduating? I graduated in November, and some of my classmates took it in November. They took it in December, but my brother ended up my brother ended up getting married the weekend before I graduated. So once I was done with school, from my predictor exam until graduation and before I took NCLEX, I wanted to be able to give my family that time. I wanted to be able to help my brother and help my sister-in-law get their wedding and all that stuff handled prior to me studying. I didn't want to study and, you know, take that time away from my family. So I finished with nursing classes and all that stuff in October, helped my brother and them until their wedding was the weekend before graduation. I graduated, and then I was like, you know what? I want to stay and help. I want to stay and spend time with my family for Thanksgiving. So I ended up doing that. So I took that time off until Thanksgiving. The day after Thanksgiving, my dad and my brother had a rodeo, and I was like, no, I'm studying. I'll go, but I'm going to study. So I took my books and my laptop, and I studied at the rodeo to make sure that I was staying on track. And I studied every single day up until I took the exam at the end of January. And it was hard. It was really hard studying because I was like, oh my goodness, I'm done with nursing school, but you're not really done until you take NCLEX. So I studied. A lot of people asked what materials I studied. I studied UWorld, and then I studied Mark Klimick. The Mark Klimick videos are incredible. He tells you how to remember different things because when you go into those exams, you don't know what they're going to ask you. And he helps you remember, you know, your electrolytes and stuff like that, your levels, um, all those good things. So I loved his videos because I was able to listen to what he has heard from different students and what has helped them be successful. And then I also used UWorld, and I did, I think, 75 to 100 questions a day. And that was me taking different exams through UWorld. And UWorld was hard. It was very hard. I didn't get very good scores on those, and I just knew that that meant I wasn't going to do good on NCLEX. So I took those exams every single day, and then 2 days before I took NCLEX, 2 days before I took NCLEX, I took the actual, I guess it's like the exam for UWorld that is like mocks NCLEX, and I think it's 300, I don't know, 265, I don't know how, I would be lying if I actually told you a number, but I took that exam and I did fairly well on it. It told me that I was like 96 or 97% chance of passing NCLEX, and I was like, I still didn't feel like that was good enough. I was like, oh my goodness, I did terrible on all those practice exams, and then here I am getting like a 97%. Like, I just didn't feel very confident in myself going into that exam, but I was so stressed out studying. Like, I cried all the time. I studied hours on end for our nursing school. So kind of backtrack of how much I studied. I would study, you know, hours a day for just regular nursing school stuff, but for exit, so Chamberlain has, it's the predictor. We ended up calling it the exit exam, but it's the predictor exam, and you have to pass this predictor exam in order to graduate. So the exam was, I think, 180 questions, and you get one try to take it. I know some Chamberlains are different, but in the state of Texas, I think it's Irving campus, Houston campus, and Pearland campus, we have one try to take it. If you fail it, you have to retake the whole capstone course again, and that pushes your graduation. You don't get to graduate unless you pass that class. So that was really terrifying for me. So prior to the exit exam, I studied 7 days a week, and I would study up to 18 hours a day. I lost my sanity because I studied so much. I would wake up and I would meet my friends at wherever we were meeting and study the ATI exams that we would take. Then they give you like the rationale as to why you missed it, or I would review those. I would take practice questions or practice test, and really just prepare. It was all ATI. We all did ATI. It was all ATI based. And I would do that. And there was times where I would study 18 hours a day. Looking back, I'm like, I have no idea how I did that, but I did. And then when I took the exit, there were so many people that were like, oh my God, they're so smart. I don't know why they're stressed out. Like, if I was only as half as smart as they were, I would be okay. And the day of the exit exam, I like couldn't eat the day before. I couldn't eat the morning of. I was like so sick to my stomach. I was actually staying at a friend's house in Pearland and studying with them. I could not sleep. I could not eat breakfast. I would like pulled all my eyelash extensions out, so I looked like I was probably a dead cat. And I was upset. I was crying because I was just so overwhelmed. I have really bad anxiety during that time. It was like terrible anxiety. And I was just really nervous. Like, I knew my future was on the line at this point. So the morning of, I like cried. I worshiped my whole way through nursing school. And I was like, you know what? Like, I have to get it together. We all prayed as a group. Like, we all held hands. Our professors, all of our classmates, we all prayed. And then it was like go time. Like, you go in, and it was timed. It was a time exam. I don't remember how long we had, but it was tough. You had 180 questions. I want to say it was like 3 or 4 hours long. And leaving, I was just like, oh my God, I don't know what what happened. So prior to that exam, you have something called the practice predictor, I think, or it's like a um, practice exit predictor exam, whatever you want to call it, and you have to make a 76 on that exam in order to pass it. And I think I made like a 74, so I was like freaking out. All my friends made like 82s, and I was like, oh my god, I'm not gonna pass it. Like, I was so devastated, I was so upset. And so I studied really, really hard. That we took that, I think, like week 1 or 2 of capstone. So because of that, I studied really hard, because all my friends had already made past that mark. Like, they had already made that mark, and I was like a question short of making the 76 mark. So I studied really, really, really hard. And then I took I took the actual predictor exam. We got out and we had to wait a little bit before we actually found our results out. And I was actually one of the highest scores on my predictor exam. I was like, oh my goodness, all these people that I just knew was going to pass, I ended up getting higher scores than them. Nothing against them or anything, but I was like doubting myself, and I was like, no, they're way smarter. I don't know how like I could even study half and get the grades they get. Like, I didn't understand it. And then coming out of it, I was one of the top scorers. So God showed out there. So after I took that exam, I started studying for NCLEX. The day after Thanksgiving, I studied up until January, took that exam, took NCLEX, and then taking NCLEX. I get this question a lot. How was NCLEX? Terrifying. That's an exam that you can't it's not, I don't really know how to tell you to prepare for it. It's not one of those exams where I'm like, hey, study all your electrolytes or study cardiac, or it's like, even looking back, I couldn't tell you how to study for it. I would tell you to study the Mark Klimek videos and study UWorld. Like, do that and you will be great. But I can't tell you the topics or anything, because it was just like so everywhere. And I ended up passing in 75 questions. So after my 75th question, it cut off. My computer cut off, and I left. And I was like, oh my goodness, like, I failed that exam. It was so hard. I left, and I texted my friends, and they were like, how many questions? And I was like, 75. And one of my friends was like, okay, Nurse Kristen, like, you got 75 questions. And I was like, that doesn't mean anything. Like, I was still like on edge. My whole family was on edge. I was so nervous. But 2 days later, I was leaving church, or the 48-hour mark. I left church, and I ended up passing, and that just made my whole year literally the greatest time of my life. You can do it. NCLEX is hard. I'd never want to do it again, but it is so doable. Moments you wanted to quit but was motivated to keep going. I want my kids to have a good life. Education is big for me, and I knew if I quit, I would have to tell my kids one day, like, hey, I was almost a nurse, but your mom quit. Yeah, those words were never going to come out of my mouth. Never. How did you manage studying for classes that are only 8 weeks? Knowing that I only had 8 weeks to study for them. Like pharmacology, it was like literally within a blink of an eye, it was over. But thankfully, we didn't have to study pharm for 16 weeks. I was so thankful after every class that it was done. Like, it was 8 weeks and we were done. I was like, thank God we don't have to go through this 8 more weeks, because I don't think I could have did it. Like, I poured my heart into every class those 8 weeks, and then that was that. So I loved the 8-week courses. People asking how I studied. How did I get a job, mother baby job, as a new grad? How did you stay positive? I failed a class and retook it, and I passed. Yes. Sometimes you're going to get knocked down, but you got to get back up. You have no choice. Thankfully, I never had to go through that, but it happens. Like, there was times where I thought I was going to fail a class, and had I failed a class, I would have just had to suck it up and keep going. There was no way I was going to throw $40,000 down the drain because of a freaking failed class. No way. That's my thing, is I'm not a quitter. I'll never be a quitter, not in anything that I do. No. Number one piece of advice for someone starting their journey. Freaking go for it. if this is what you do want to do, I've had so many people since I've posted my TikTok videos tell me, oh my goodness, that's my dream job, that's what I want to do, it's so hard. Like, just think, if you start now, where you'll be in 2 years, and then think about if you wait to start in 2 years, you can look back and think, man, if I would have just started then, I would have already been a nurse by now. Like, that's the truth of it. You really have to just, put your mind to it and do it. If you just kind of contemplate and go back and forth about, you're wasting time. That's all you're doing. And time is money. That's my big thing. Time is money. How did you know you wanted to work with mothers and babies? Nursing school. I excelled in my mother baby class, like loved OB, loved OB. And I was like, this is what I want to do. Like, I love the excitement of L&D, and I love the quality time that I get to spend with my mom and my babies. So I won't be a mother baby nurse forever. I think I'll go into, there's a hospital that I think I'll eventually go to, and they have like antepartum, L&D, and mother baby all in, like, you'll be that nurse depending on, your day. Like, I like to work 3 in a row. So you could start as auntie, and then you could go in and labor that patient, and then if on your 3rd day they were ready to go home, you could send them home too. So I think I'll eventually do that, like, once I'm comfortable and where I am. Like, I'm learning so much, but I'm not gonna just stay in one place. I'm too young. I want to grow. I want to get another degree. So no, I'll keep advancing my education and my knowledge. Now that you are a nurse, are you glad you became a nurse? 100%. I would do it 10 times over. I love what I do. Granted, I hate getting up in the morning, but when I'm at work, I'm like so thankful that this is the job that I get to do every single day. Like, I get to play with babies all day and love on moms. Like, it doesn't get much better than that. How long did the lessons school take you? I took 3 years in my prereqs, and then 2 years of nursing school, so 5 years altogether. And then some questions on TikTok. Hold on, let me go to those. Let's see. How did you get accepted into nursing school? I talked about that. Is Chamberlain University really worth it? I hear mixed things. I also heard mixed things, but if I would have gone off of what I heard instead of what I know, I wouldn't be a nurse. At least not graduated from Chamberlain. Chamberlain is expensive. It is a private university, but my campus set me up for success. Like, I passed nursing school in the first try and passed NCLEX on the first try. So yes, I would pay what I've paid all over again, because it was worth it. And I'm now making money and succeeding in my career, and I'm very professional, and I'm handle my nursing career very, very, I hold it with pride, because nursing school, my nursing campus, they set the bar really, really high. And when it comes to nursing, I'm very particular, because nursing school made it very particular, and I'm thankful for that. I'm very professional at my workplace. Are you a labor and delivery nurse or a different kind of nurse? Because I want to do what you're doing right now as my career. So right now I am a mother baby nurse. So once mom and baby deliver, baby will go to transition for a little bit, and then I get mom and baby. So I'm mom and baby's nurse. There's sometimes when we will get floated to L&D, and eventually I will be an L&D nurse, but I eventually want to do NICU. So it's just more so like a stepping stone. I have looked into going back to school. That's another question I get often. Going back to school. And I looked into NP school, but there's so many NPs, and you can make what you're making as a nurse as an NP, or a new grad NP. And so one of my good friends I worked with at Texas Children, she was like, look into PA school or med school. So I have looked into both. I don't know which route I'm going to go yet. It's something that I'm praying about, and hoping that the good Lord will show me answers. I haven't started a family, so I'm thankful for that. I get to my whatever degree I go to next. I want to be able to pay that out of pocket instead of getting a loan out, if possible. I know med school is really expensive, so if I have to get a loan out, I will. But I want to make sure that I'm debt free when I start a family. I want to pay my loans off as quick as possible. I do still live at home because that's something that I want to do. Is I don't want to have debt and start a family and have all those strings attached whenever I, get married and have kids. I want to be able to have my income and work how I'm working and start their college funds, because my kids, I obviously will support everything that they want to do, but it's not about if you're going to go to college, it's where you're going to go to college. My kids will go to college for sure. I'll support any degree that they want, but they're going to go to college. I think it's very, very important now as we get technology is so big and education is so big, and it's just going to continue to grow and get bigger. I want my kids to go to school. So that's a really, really big thing for me. So I will start a college fund the minute that I know that I'm expecting a baby. Obviously I got to get married and stuff first, but that's big for me. So yes, it is worth it. Yes, it's a lot of money, but you make great money too. So I don't know. I guess we'll see what the good Lord wants me to do. I would like to finish with my school first before starting a family. I'm okay to get married and still being in school, but if I'm going to do PA school, then I want to be, done with all my stuff prior to having kids. Or if I want to go back and do med school, I want to be able to do that too. So we'll see. I don't really know what that's going to be like, but I'm super excited. I'm thriving and super happy of where I am in my life and what's going on. So I'm super thankful for my TikTok followers. Y'all have been amazing and y'all have my back like nobody else. I think it's so cool because I have my friends, my good close friends that I love and that I'm, close to physically. But when you have people that you don't even know and they're like your cheerleaders, it's like so cool because you get to see people that don't even know you, and they like know you, like they know you, but they've never like met you before. So I think it's so cool, and I'm so thankful for all the friendships and relationships I've created from social media. I know it's just going to get bigger and better. But I want to say first and foremost, thank y'all. Like thank y'all so much for being so great and supporting me. And when someone has a negative comment or says something negative, like I don't even have to defend myself. I have people like defending me, and I just think it's so cool. So just thank y'all for that. Continue to do what you're doing, and if there's anything that I can do to help any of you, I try to message y'all back as much as I can. I think I have yesterday I got like 80 something messages, so it's really hard to sort through and to respond back, but I do see some of them. And if I don't respond, continue to send me messages, and I promise you yours will eventually pop up and I will get back to you. Follow me, comment, let me know. I'd love to follow you back, especially those people that follow my journey and they support me and they're so vocal about how and I inspire them. Like I don't do this for anything else other than to inspire somebody. If I inspire somebody, I know I'm doing my job correctly. The good Lord has blessed me. I know I would not be where I am without the good Lord. All my praise and glory goes to Him, because I'm nothing without Him. Like I wouldn't be a nurse. I wouldn't be half the person that I am. So all the glory goes to Him for that. But just being able to show y'all my life and show y'all how I live day to day and my walk with Christ. I posted a TikTok video about Easter, and so many people talked about religion. And I will never say that I'm not a Christian. I will never shut up about God. Like if you don't like my religion, or you don't like that I talk about God or I worship God or I'm a believer in Christ, then you're more than welcome to follow me. But that's something that will never change. Like you can say all you want to, you can be as hateful and as negative as you want to, but I will never give my glory or my praise or to anybody else. Not to me, not to my family, not to my significant other. Nobody will get the praise and the glory that the good Lord will get. And I will forever give Him the praise and glory, because I am who I am because of Him. And it just, TikTok was like, so religious about this Easter video. And I was like, if y'all follow me on Instagram, y'all's poor minds are going to be blown, because I will not stop sharing God. Like that's something I won't do. So those that follow my walk with God and y'all appreciate it and y'all are inspired by it, I will continue to post, and I will do everything I can to continue to share and inspire y'all. I'm so new to this, so thank y'all for being so patient and being so understanding with me. If I can do anything to help any of you, or if y'all have questions or anything, feel free. There's a Q&A box on TikTok. You can shoot me a message on Instagram. I do the question boxes on Instagram often, and I do screen record all those, and I'll go back and um, read those and answer questions as I get them. But thank y'all for everything, and I will continue to post. Thank y'all so much for all the love and support. I'll see y'all soon. Love y'all.